think we can start. So thank you everybody for joining today. It's a pleasure to have you here. I would like to start with a very brief introduction on the Small But Perfect project, because some of you are part of this project, but some others are not. So I would like to give you a little bit of a context around this webinar. So the Small But Perfect project is an international collaborative project that's devoted to support 28 small and medium enterprises from all over Europe active in the fashion sector. And the support is meant to help their businesses accelerate the transition into more circular and sustainable businesses. And as part of this project, so this project also acknowledges the importance that these businesses are integrated into a wider context of similar businesses and like-minded people in order to help them establish relevant and meaningful connections. So for these reasons, we, together with Common Objective, which is a supporting partner, we are creating a transnational network of these actors on their website. And this is the Small But Perfect Hub, which you are a part of. And we use the Small But Perfect Hub to share resources, good examples of good practices, and also webinars such as this one. In particular, this webinar is the third of a series of webinars focusing on alternative business models coming from the World Fair Trade Organization. And today we have Caterina Occhio with us today, that in a few moments she will share something about her experience and knowledge that she gained working through her alternative model of business. So the program for this webinar should be like that. We will start a conversation with Caterina that will last for about 20-25 minutes. Then you will be split up into breakout rooms where you will have the opportunity to discuss a certain topic related to alternative business models in smaller groups. And it will also be an occasion to meet the other participants and to connect with them. And after that, we will go back into the main room and there will be a Q&A session where you will have the chance to ask your questions directly to Caterina. So let's start. Caterina, again, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. So Caterina is the CEO and founder of CIMI, an organization based in the Netherlands, but I will not say much about that because I would like to leave the floor to her. So Caterina, I would like to start by asking you if you could tell us a bit about what you do, about your business, how it started, a little bit of an introduction and overview.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for inviting me this morning. I have the pleasure to define myself a social entrepreneur. And I have a brand that's called CIMI. We make jewelry. I don't know if you can see my big heart. Can you see it?
Yeah,
beautiful. This huge heart. This is basically we only make heart in our company. Everything we do has a heart. See, I have another little one here. There's always a little heart there. It's a long story. This big heart is a long story. I don't come from fashion. I definitely never been a fashion designer in my life. I am a geopolitician. Things coming from the European Commission, the United Nations. I was writing and talking about making a difference. And I decided that it was about time that I could try to see if I could really in action make a difference, because inspiring without action is not really interesting, right? So I was working in a project in Turkey, and this project was supporting women survivors of domestic violence. And it's a bit personal, my story, but what happened was that one day I was in a shelter home, and one of the women that we were hosting, that we were rescuing from a violent family, I saw her on the way out with her luggage and 3 kids. And I asked to the social worker, where was she going? And the social worker said, well, you know, she has never worked in her life. She doesn't have an education. She doesn't have any income. So she goes back to her husband, which was beating her up until 3 months before. So one data hit me, which was that even if a woman has the courage to move forward and talk about it and go to the police and talk about the violence she's experiencing, 75% of those women go back to their violent husband because they don't have an income. What do we do about that? So I decided to take what women could possibly do with low skills, and that was in this case jewelry, this very big heart, and created a brand around it. Actually, for me, making jewelry is not the end, it's a means to employ women survivors of violence. So what we do is we collaborate with a local NGO that runs, it's in Tunisia, because meanwhile I had moved to Tunisia. The NGO runs the only shelter home for women survivors of violence and for single mother, which are, when a woman is having a child that is not married, in some countries, unfortunately many countries, she is outcasted from society, and for sure she will never find a job, I can tell you that, unless it's in prostitution or house cleaning. So what we do, we hire them. We train them as a goldsmith, silversmith. They make our hearts, they make our jewelry, and we sell our jewelry around the world. The basic idea of the business model that we started was to go beyond what fair trade products were up until that moment. We wanted to make a product that was not just meaningful for the women. We wanted to make a product that was first and foremost beautiful. Because what we were finding on the market from social enterprises were products that were not really fashionable, they were not really chic, they were not really cool, and that people was buying because they were charity. We wanted to go to the business model was built around the concept we want to put together three essential things. First of all, beautiful. People need to buy a jewelry because they like it. Meaningful. We have to have a positive impact on the life of the people, of the women that make our jewelry, and on the environment, because we only use recycled metal. We never used virgin metal. And third, profitable, because if our business model cannot prove to be financially successful, I can't hire my women. It's as simple as that. So beautiful, meaningful, and profitable. We started 10 years ago. We have had testimonial like Nicole Kidman, lately the heir to the throne of Netherlands, the royal family of Netherlands, was wearing a jewelry, and on her official 18th birthday portrait, she was wearing a necklace. That gave us a big boost and a big awareness. And when we started 10 years ago, it was a strange business model. Now, many companies are asking us to help them, to replicate it. So what we did, that was the very first time we ever did that, was collaboration between very luxurious fashion brand. We made a collection with Karl Lagerfeld. Can you imagine our women coming from a little, very disadvantaged situation in country like Tunisia, working with Karl Lagerfeld, working with Missoni, working with Tommy Hilfiger. We were producing for them. It's called ethical sourcing. And that's the second revenue stream that we have. Selling our own collection, producing for other brands. And we are fair trade verified ever since the start. I think I've said enough. I don't know if you want me to
Thank you
say
very much,
something
Katerina.
else.
That was great to hear. I think it's the first time that I hear the whole story. It's really inspiring. It's really great. Thank you for sharing. I would like to ask you also, you said that, of course, you prioritize your social mission, but also you have an environmental mission. Could you tell us a little bit more what's your approach towards sustainability?
Sustainability is something that is very misunderstood nowadays. I have the feeling that most of the, I mean, not have the feeling, but when I ask people, if you ask around, sustainability is associated with the planet, which is correctly so, but sustainability is people, planet, and profit. So it is environmental, social, and governance. You can't strive for a sustainable business models if you do not tackle the three of them. Obviously, social sustainability, which is not very much in focus in nowadays concept of sustainability, is my main concern. But environmentally, we, for example, we work in Tunisia, okay? So obviously, what we do is to reduce as much as possible our carbon footprint, but by sourcing locally. We only use products that we can find, or raw material that we can find in situ. So all our silver, as I said, all our brass comes from the local market, literally from the ground. We go buy scratches of old metal and we because it's just a natural product, silver, and we use only upcycled silver and upcycled brass. The chemical product in our production are very limited, and as we said, we only ship them when at one time when they arrive to the Netherlands. We have to have still, from environmental point of view, we need to improve our carbon footprint. And we tried to ship by boat from Tunisia to Europe, but it was simply impossible. So we compensated our carbon footprint by investing in local environmental initiatives. And we, of course, calculate our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. I don't know if this is too technical. If you guys know what is scope 1, scope 2, or scope 3 emissions?
Maybe it's a little bit technical, but I mean, if you would like to explain some further, maybe just an overview of what it is. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be interesting for the other participants to know.
So to calculate the gas and GHG protocol, CO2 is only one of the emissions that that any organization emits, even every individual emits in the atmosphere. The GHG protocol from the United Nations and OECD have listed a series of emissions and divided them in 3 groups. Scope 1 are the ones directly connected to you, all right? What you in your operation uses. Scope 2 is the one you use it in your operation, the electricity you buy, the water you buy, and the heating or the gas, depends, electricity. Sometimes heating system is made with electricity, sometimes made with gas. And those are relatively easy to calculate. There are online models. If you go digit GHG protocol, you can calculate your scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. Scope 3 are the most difficult to calculate because you have to calculate how much emissions you have from the material you use. In this case, silver. So to have my scope 3 emission calculation, I need to know where the silver is coming from and how much time and energy it costs to get it to the place where I transform it into my beautiful jewelry. So any organization that wants to be serious about calculating the carbon footprint of the GHG emissions in the atmosphere has to consider the 3 categories. And from that one, you try to see how can you reduce your emissions. And if you really cannot, because there are some emissions you can't reduce, I can't, as I said, I can't avoid to ship by flight the jewelry from Tunisia to the Netherlands. In my case, I calculate how much this cost in terms of emission, and I offset. I mean, I buy carbon credit. I support with cash, with money, organization that have a negative carbon footprint, meaning in their operation, they use less energy of what they produce, like agriculture project or environmental project. So I support them so that they can diminish the CO2 emission that I make. Sorry if it is too technical.
Thank you so much, Katrina, for this lesson. It was really interesting. So you mentioned that you can how do you say, calculate your carbon emissions through, you said, like through a website, right? At first, the first thing that you said.
Yes, there are
Yeah.
several instruments. There are several instruments pretty easy to calculate. Scope 1 and 2 are easy to calculate. Scope 3 is more difficult because you
Yeah.
really have to trace back every single material you use.
Yeah.
You want to make this shirt, you need to know where the linen come from. And possibly who is the, sorry, I'm in the airport, if you hear some voice. If you have to know up to the farmer,
Yeah,
that made this linen to calculate.
Yeah, sounds really, really complex. So I just
It
wait
is
a second.
complex. It's transparency and want to go to Dublin?
That is long.
I'm in an airport. I know, sorry. So yeah, traceability is going to be one of the biggest issue in environmental carbon footprint calculation.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing. I think it's the first time that many ever heard about this, so it's good that you were able to say something on the topic. I would like to
Google
go back.
it.
Yeah, of
Google
course.
it.
Now everybody, yeah, we'll be ready to Google it. So I would like
And
to
there
go
are
back.
also very interesting apps. Sorry, yeah.
No, sure, please go ahead.
Yes, we shall. What I wanted to say, you can also calculate your individual carbon footprint. There are also apps that do that.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. So what I want to say, yes, I wanted to go back to your conception of what a product should be like. You said it should be beautiful, meaningful, and profitable. In your interview that we have already published on Common Objective, you said that sometimes you struggle to communicate about what a high quality product is with your artisans. And you try many times to explain that a product that is almost good is not the same as a good enough product. So is this still like an ongoing issue? How do you overcome this? Have you been able to, I mean, do you try to overcome this issue through communication, through trainings? Do you have any advice for anybody that might be in the same situation?
Quality control and quality assurance when you work with craft is very difficult. Basically, I don't know what are your background or where are you working, but the concept of something is good, if you don't have a reference standard, it's very subjective. So my main problem was that for my artisans, almost good was good enough. But I mean, it's almost good. It's no. If you want to work with the luxury industry, which I think is the target market for social enterprises and for craft, well, the quality standards are so high that even for us, we had to really, really be trained by the quality managers of the brand to understand how do they define quality. I'll give you a small example. We, and it's still an issue because we thought we had very high level of quality, and then we had an order from a Japanese organization. They wanted to buy our jewelry. Oh my God. So they would literally go through all the heart, and for the slightest scratch, everything was gone.
The
Right.
audio, sorry, Katrina, the audio was a little bit disturbed.
The slightest scratch for the Japanese market is a sign of imperfection. And even if they have a concept of perfect imperfection, like the song goes, they may understand it, but they will not tolerate it. So we had a lot of products that were sent back. They had arrived to Tokyo, and when they saw the merchandise, 30% of them was just sent back because for them, it was just not good enough. And we had to pay again to remake them, repair them, and reship them. So And what is high quality standards is culturally rooted into your society and into your habits. And for me, changing the mind of the people is much more difficult than changing the craft, because they have to understand what it means perfect, what it means top quality. And I think it's a necessary step that the entire fair trade movement, the social enterprises, has to make, to try to understand, okay, my product that has a beautiful story does not justify the bad quality. So fair trade is not an excuse for bad design and for poor quality. And I still have those issues, and I still try to, of course, they're much less with the time, but I still have to really convince them that we need to position ourselves, we need to position social enterprises in the highest segment, because that's the way our stories can shine, and that's the way our product can compete and have to compete with the highest quality standard of Hermes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will wait a second for the next question. All right. Yeah. So you mentioned that you had worked with popular fashion brands, and I was wondering, do you have any advice for small and medium enterprises that would like to approach this, key players in the fashion industry and big fashion brands? Do you have any advice on how they would need to present themselves, and also things they should be aware of before starting even the approach?
Yeah, they are a different animal. You have to understand, try to understand before contacting them how they operate. Try to understand that they very often are a big corporate organization, even if they.
Katerina, you froze, so we'll just give you, I think she got kicked out of the call. Just wait for a few seconds. She probably had a connection problem, because yes, at the airport is not really the best place to be.
I'm back.
Hi.
I'm back. Sorry. My biggest problem, if I could give you an advice, is try before approaching them, try to understand how they work. Try to facilitate their job and their connection with you. Let me explain you concretely. Even if a production manager wants to work with you, wants to use your craft, wants to use your artisan in producing, I mean, look what I have here. Look at this. This bag. You see this bag? You see it?
Yeah, from Chloe.
This is a Chloe bag. Do you know the brand Chloe? Do you know about it?
Yeah.
So this has been done, and I was behind this. This has been done in collaboration with a fair trade organization called Mifuko. They work in Kenya with women artisans that wave the baskets, those baskets, you see. Now, this basket is not just a collection, a beautiful basket that has been, of course, uplifted with leather and with beautiful details by a luxury brand. This is a cultural experiment. This is a bridge. This is a bridge between two worlds that don't speak the same language. So in this case, it was me facilitating the collection. And my advice to you would be try to understand, try to make the life of the manager that wants to make this product with you easy. Ask them, what is your time lead? What are your quality standards? What do you expect from us? How can we work using the crafts that we have? Because the biggest problem you have to understand is that they have a design in their mind, but it's not maybe what you are able to do. So when approaching them, first and foremost, tell them what you can do. What are the crafts that they can use and bring into their design? Do not accept them to come to you and say, hey, can you make this basket? And no. Tell them what are the knowledge, the experiences, the crafts, again, you can put at disposal of their collection and ask them to work around it. They will be super happy to do it. And try to understand what are their time leads. You know, very often a collection today now, for example, it's June, July almost, we are preparing the collection, we're designing and making the prototype of the collection of summer 23. So they work 1 year in advance. So when working with them, you have to understand, okay, give me your timeline. Like, you know, by end of July, I need to have the prototype for next summer. Don't wait. I mean, if you are missing those deadlines, even if they really want to work with you, they can't. Because they have a very, very fixed time schedule. We said, okay, how do you assess that we have done a qualitative enough good job? Tell me, give me your standard, give me your manual. They will give it to you. Talk to them. When you approach them, most importantly, show them the positive social impact that they can do by placing an order with your enterprise. And I can tell you that this collaboration has been so successful that after 2 weeks, they were sold out. Not only that, they are continuing to make one collection a year, and they have a partnership that is going to last forever. Trust me. And they are already coming up with new models. And what Mifuko is doing right now is teaching their women also on how to stitch leather. Oh, sorry. You see this leather detail here?
Yeah.
This is the first collection. They were not able to do it. They were not able to do it because they never worked with leather. Well, they're training them to do it so they can also charge for it. Because they have understood the need of your client, which is, you know, the basic of trade.
That's great to hear. And also thank you for the very detailed answer about that. You really gave some good advice. Related to that, I was also wondering.
Yes, Simone, yes, Mifuko name is inside there. More than that, there is the name inside. I don't know if you can't read it. There is the name of the artisan who made it. Yeah, inside in each and every bag, there is the name of Mifuko, the name of the artisans. And the second collection that is out now, the name of the artisan and the name of Mifuko is not inside the bag, it's outside the bag. They have a big patch of leather, and inside the leather, on the leather, is written, embossed, Mifuko and the name of the artist.
That's wonderful. Yeah, really great. Related to that, I had another question because you said in your interview that you should never compromise on your key ethical norms and values when in your work. I was wondering, do you ever face any difficulties in, promoting your social and environmental values when you work with businesses that don't have the same objectives as you have? Like, for example, these big popular brands, they were set up with different objectives. For example, profit maximization. How do you ever face any issues collaborating with them and, in making it clear that you have values that you have to uphold?
Yeah, there are two examples. One was with the press. We work with women survivors of violence, and it's very important that we create awareness around gender-based violence. It's very important that we tell the stories of our artisans. We can't show the face because of security reasons, obviously, but we have to tell the stories. And then a very big newspaper started to talk about our story, but because it was in a different country, didn't say survivors of violence, called them widow. Said that they were widows and they needed to help. And we got them into a very big fight. It's like, I don't want you to sugarcoat what is an incredible, absurd, endemic problem that is touching 1 in 3 women in the world. There's no way you're going to sugarcoat the story that we want to bring up to the world. And we didn't get the article, and it was fired. First. Second, the brand, they always try to put down the price. they always try to say, oh, why does it cost €5? Can we make it 3? So it's going to be better. We can come up, we can have a final price on the market that is more attractive, so we can sell more pieces. And I was like, no, I'm not going to cut my income, the income of my women, just because we need job for you to have a higher margin. Just you can go anywhere else. You don't need, if you want to use our story, if you want to use who we are, if you want to use the fair trade certification, well, that's our price. And because we need the job, we are not going to compromise on it. And you have to stand by it, because I'm not going to lower down the living wages of my girls because someone else is to make a big, higher profit. You need to understand that they need you. One thing is very important. The demand of ethical sourcing is growing. It's going to grow. Get ready also to stand on their feet and to hold your ground, because they're going to use your stories. But if they want to use our stories, they better pay. So we can have better life for our artisans, right?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Just one question, another question before we move to the breakout rooms. You also said in the interview that you should make sure that sustainability makes business sense. I was wondering if you could expand a little bit on that, because I find it could be really interesting to know more about it.
You have, was I say, remember we started this conversation talking about the beautiful and the meaningful. I guess we all agree on that. Too often the profitable is not part of the equation. So you have to make sure that there is enough cash flow, that there is enough financial management to support whatever you're doing. I didn't do it. I was just not good at it. So I found myself into a bit of a stretch, and I had to put my own personal savings into my company, which, you know, was not very healthy financially, because I was pushing. I was clearly not having a very, I learned afterwards that you need to have a profit and loss account. Never heard about it before. I didn't know. I've never been an entrepreneur in my life. So if whatever you do does not make financial sense, business sense, you may risk to lose everything you're doing. So we need to talk about money, honey. We need to talk about, and we don't have to be ashamed about giving yourself a good salary, because very often the founder, the CEO is the last one that is paid. And you end up not being able to pay anybody else. It's like when you are screaming baby. Do you remember when you are on a flight? When you are on a flight talking about babies, they say, put on your mask first before helping your child. Do you know that? Remember that? And that's a very useful advice I got from the airplane, because I'm in an airport. A dead mom cannot help a dead child.
So that's also related to that, the way you managed to achieve financial viability. So you first learned about that, all the things you needed to learn about profits and loss. Then how did you set it up? There was a lot of studying, how did you manage to create this successful commercial business?
I learned it the hard way. Asking for help, which is something that CEO, founder, whatever inspirational woman you aim to be, you're not used to ask for help. And I did. I was forced to do it. So, and I heard the hard way. So I was almost bankrupted, and I was realizing that I couldn't pay my women anymore, and I couldn't pay because I was not paying myself also for 2 years. And then I asked somebody is called the chief financial officer, somebody that was good with numbers. And you see, I'm convinced that you can't do everything well. It's impossible. I know when you are a startup, you do everything yourself, but obviously there are things will never learn. I will never learn to work very well on an Excel file, and I don't have to. I rather concentrate on what I can do well than wasting time or in something and energy that I will never be good at, or I will never be good enough to do it, and risking everything I do. So I ask for it. I know I can't make still a very profit and loss account. I understand it better, but I still need someone else and still need someone else's help to do that. Because again, you can't be good at everything. Learn to understand your limits and learn to go around your limits. Otherwise, you will never succeed.
Sounds really wise. Thank you for sharing. I'm sure that all the other participants have questions for you, but I would kindly ask you if we can have them later. So first, I think it's time to split up and break out rooms. So now we're going to post a question in the chat, and it would be good if you can discuss that in your smaller group. I will just post the question now, and I will ask Zarin if she can split you in breakout rooms.
Do you want me to post the question as well, or?
I will post the question.
All right, great. Okay, I will create the rooms then.
So the question is there. So already the three main components that Katerina mentioned, so beautiful, meaningful, and profitable. How can your business relate to these three concepts? Can you briefly share how these are pertinent in your business? So I think it would be a good opportunity to do some brainstorming and to share your experience and also seek for advice. And we'll give this part of the webinar around 20 minutes, and then we will call you back into the main room for the final session. So see you soon. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I think that everybody is here again. So we can, I hope you had a nice conversation with your smaller group. I hope it was interesting. And now we can go on with the Q&A session with Katerina. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask her, please go ahead. So she will leave her video off, but she's here. So please feel free to raise your hand.
Hello, welcome back. I'm here. Hello.
Yeah, so it would be good if you can use the hand icon just so we can see who is asking the question.
And I believe I have an overview of that. So Bimba, I see your hand.
Yeah, because I have to leave soon. So yeah, Katerina, thank you so much. And I really loved your story. But I'm quite interested about this calculating the impact, because I am a sustainability student. I just finished my master's, but this is something I did not learn throughout. I guess I have to do it by myself. Like if you have any sessions in the future for people, like telling them about the tools, how to calculate, because I would like to do that for my own business. It's a small business, a very small business. Just let me know if you have any sessions planned or whether you can arrange one. Even if it is a paid one, I think I'm ready to do that, because I really need to do that for myself.
Thank you, Bimba. Very interesting question indeed. How do you measure your impact? There are several methodologies out there. There is not one definitive methodology to do that. One that I like is social impact assessment. If you want to write it down, I don't know if you know about it. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
Another a bit. Yeah, SIA is one of the best out there. Another one that is much more financial, I don't know how much you would go into that, is the SROI, the Social Return on Investment. Both manuals are available live in PDF. I'll be happy to talk about it in detail, but I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there is not one agreed international standard that is there to measure the impact. Clearly, the social impact is much more difficult to assess. With Chloe, we are launching an open source online tool, measurement tool. It's called the Social Profit and Loss Account, SPNL, which is that right now in the test phase. I'm part of the think tank that's developing that together with the University of Cambridge. but it's not yet ready yet. And again, it's a very big question. And out there, the methodology are all imperfect because systemic changes are traceable during the course of the year. To be able to monitor and evaluate their impact, you should be having in place a complex system if you really want to do it on a scientific basis. Nevertheless, some easier instrument can calculate not just your outcomes, not just your output, but also your outcomes. I'm not sure. I think Bimba, you know the difference, right? Between output and outcomes. Yeah, right. So just for briefly, output is what immediately comes out of your action, like how many women you trained, how many women you hired, and outcomes is the long, medium term, intermediate term effect that you have on their life. So while output measure from 6 to 1 year, outcomes as a time span from 3 to 6 years, and then that's more complex. So yeah, be
where did
happy
you learn
to
that?
talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to do
Why
a
did I
course
learn
on
that?
Yeah.
There is not an official course on that. This is an instrument that we developed with the European Commission during my my development aid. But try to see if I'm sure there are some online courses out there. Was possibly not directly, but for sure there's a lot of learning material. Check it out. Check Cambridge University.
Katerina, sorry, the audio is very disturbed now.
A new initiative coming up is called the International Sustainability.
Okay, okay.
Can you hear me
Maybe
now?
it's working again now.
Yeah, okay. So I hope I answered, Bimba, your complex question with an easy answer, but it's not that easy, not that straightforward.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Zarin, do you see any other questions?
I do not see any other hands, but you can also write in the chat, or if I'm missing something technically, I'm not seeing it, please let us know.
Maybe I can ask. Just going back into the partnership of Mifuko and Chloe that you mentioned, I was just interested to hear if in the pricing, like if in the part of setting up like a final price and how that would be then distributed like between the two brands, or how that will like the pricing be built, if Mikufu was part of that conversation as well, or I don't know if there's any comment about how that was negotiated, or how the decisions were made into that partnership. If there's any comment on that, Katerina, from your side, you want to share?
Well, the price, the final retail price is decided by the brand that has to calculate their own cost. What I can say is that the production side that Mifuko asked was not discussed. I mean, it was just asked, okay, we would like to have this basket with this characteristic. How much would you charge us? That's it. And what is important when you discuss pricing is, what does the pricing include? Simone, it's a very big mistake I made once, because I made a collaboration with another big brand and they asked for my price. And I told them the price of the goods that I was going to produce for them. But I did not know, and they did not specify that in the price, I had also to include the packaging and the shipping. And that was a big mistake from my side, because when you talk about pricing, you have to understand what do they need? Remember we discussed about communicating, understanding, speaking the same language? Yeah. Well, very often the price that they ask is a landed price, which means, okay, how much does it cost that basket in Paris on the 23rd of July? And that includes packaging, shipping, logistics, all the tagging that they have to give you, that you have to put around the objects. And that was a very big learning curve for me. And when it happened to Mifuko, I made sure that a protocol was in place where Chloe would clearly state what they would expect to be included in the prices, so that the price calculation that Mifuko did was based on real cost, profit margin, and all other shipment packaging costs that Chloe was expecting. But in final price to consumer, that's something that the company has decided. It depends also from their position. The only important thing for me as a fair trade is that I'm paid a fair price, and that my price is not negotiated or reduced.
Yeah, but they didn't know, like before Mifuko did an offer, they also didn't know for which price they wanted to sell. Like they just gave their price, and then Chloe then did the calculation based on that, just to understand like if she, yeah, just.
I think that probably there was it was very noisy, so maybe Katerina had to turn off her audio for a second. So let's see.
Yeah. So no, Simone, because don't forget that when I sell my product to, doesn't matter which brand, I don't have the risk of not selling the final product to consumer. So I don't have to bear the risk of the stock of us selling goods. I don't have the discount. I don't have to pay the sale personnel that is going to sell the bag. I just give him my product. And that's a normal transaction for any kind of producer. So in the final price, it's Chloe that has the risk, or is Karl Lagerfeld that has the risk. I don't have any risk. This is my price, buy my goods. And if you don't sell them, it's your problem. You see? I'm sorry, I don't hear anything anymore.
I think Clemence has a question.
Yes, thank you, Katarina, for all of these advices. Quick question: once a social business has fulfilled all of those three criteria, beautiful, meaningful, and profitable, and are well set up and well in place, how can we reach out to those buyers from Chloe, luxury brand, or big retailers? What's the not easiest, because I know it's not easy, but do you have any advices how we can get in touch with the right person from the company we want to work with? Is it through trade show? Is it a matter of luck and an advertising that the company is going to see you on a magazine? What is the main channel, or like the best way for you, for the social enterprises to get in touch with those companies? Thank you.
That depends from your business model. If you want to do ethical sourcing, like we did, the best way is through community building, and in my case it was through WFTO. Chloe had a partnership with WFTO, and WFTO reached out to all the members, saying out there, hey, proposing their product to Chloe. So cooperating and try not to be isolated is very efficient. But that was my choice when it comes to, so that is about ethical sourcing. When it comes to selling my product, then I had two main channels. The first one was to trade show, where I would sell it was a B2B business, so I would sell my product to other stores. And I did it through trade show. And obviously, magazine, I never paid for advertising magazine. I don't think they work nowadays. I'd rather pay on a good content creation on Instagram and Facebook. That's what I do. But then my B2B business in the end ended up not to deliver any profit. So we had the beautiful, the meaningful, but not the profitable, because the margins were not there. And the cost of trade shows were very high. So, you know, we cut the trade show and we went B2C, so only online sales. And for the you know for the retailing part, and for the big brands we used community like WFTO, or maybe also common objectives, and that's how we reached. And of course, personal relationship. You have to build your own network. The social capital is the most precious things we have. But anyway, the person in a brand you need to contact most likely are two. First, the chief sustainability officer that could use ethical sourcing in her production team. If usually those two are together, then the creative direction point, I would say, if they have a CSR department, it starts from there.
Okay.
I don't know if I answer your question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. So it's almost 12:30. So if you don't have any other questions, I think we can wrap this session up. Also, because I feel like, Katerina, you're probably about to board.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All right. All right. So thank you all so much for joining. Thank you again, Katerina, and safe travels. And I wish you all a very nice rest of the day or the evening, and hope to see you again soon. Bye, everyone.